My imagination before this museum existed, I always sat down and reflect, young student, old, community in general, gather together for my creations. Have a conversation on the same creation. So my imagination was always seeing what I'm just seeing today. Young people, old, universities from primary, secondary, gather together for the same creations. That was truly my creations, to see community appreciate my work. People learn from it. That was the greatest imagination that I had before to create a museum. I think college is something you do not for yourself, because you already know or you experience something. So the college that push you to let people even know what really happened or the memory that you hold. I think that's the most mainly college that I think it's all about giving what you already know and willing to share with the people surround you or the people who don't know. I was born after Genocide 1996. I'm 30 years old by now. I was born after genocide, and of course, you know, in Rwanda to see a family which has two parents is something which very. So to me, when I was grow up, I had to be in my Grammy's house. And then living in my Grammy's house, when my mother is somewhere, maybe to school or somewhere else. You know, in Africa, grandmas, the many things they give is love, but at the end, stories. So I've learned to receive stories with love from my grandmas. So maybe I think become a storyteller or a reflection of what I have fetched to my grandma's love through stories. So I think the memory that I keep always that helps me to keep doing what I'm doing is always based to the story I learned, the places I grew up in, the people that were surround me when I grew up, the situation, because my grandma sometimes used to take me to Gachacha. You know, the commemoration in Nepal was something that we consider something very important. So at the end of the day, I think the people who helped me to be who I am is the people whom I grew up with in my house, at home. Pablo Picasso said that every child is an artist. The problem is to remain one when he grew up. So like many other children, you know, sometimes we don't choose our own path. So our parents, sometimes they decided who they wish you to be. So the same to me, I went to school. I never went to an art school or literature school. But at the end of the day, something that was in me, I can't say that I've chosen art, but I think art has chosen me, because I never had an opportunity to be in an atmosphere where I can say that, yes, I can follow this path. But at the end of the day, I think to me, it's not about choice. Art, it's something that you can't say that I'm gonna invest my time in this because it requires a lot of sacrifice. So I think to me, art has chosen me more than to say that I have chosen art. When you get an opportunity to travel the world or to learn more, you always see the gap of something that is missing. And then when you are gifted, it sometimes become a burden to invest your time, your financial, your knowledge, your emotions, and then you start to collect something that you know you're not going to earn something from it. So it comes sometimes in observation, in research, in also willing to contribute. You know, there's some people who contributed to make this country to be the country that it is, who sacrificed, who died for it. And when you observe their contribution and then you see what is missing, you feel like, I think it's my right time too to give back to what they have done, and then it's become more experience to say it's my responsibility as well to be in this position, even if people cannot understand what you're doing, but step by step they're gonna know that what you have created was not for you, but was for the people who will be learning from your creations. I think the gap by now is always regard about the knowledge to understand what is cultural center or the mission of cultural centers, who's supposed to invest in cultural centers, who should be partnering with cultural operators. So at the end of the day, we find ourselves cultural centers in our country seems like I can say hospitals that give medicaments that has not observed or checked, because you find it's still very difficult to explain to people the mission. We are here to educate people. We are not here for making money. We are here to let people learn something. It's not about a huge number of people. Maybe they might be few, they might be a huge number, but at the end, the target market is not to say, let's people be 100 that came to museum, let's people be thousands and thousands, let's just make 10,000 like the arenas or something, but let's create a community of few people who can be learning from art, storytelling, and everything that is connected to culture. So the gap to me, I feel, it's about lack of knowledge to differentiate what is cultural center, what is also entertainment center. And at the end, we still have a challenge to know the difference in between what is cultural industry, what is creative industry, what is creative economy, and what is cultural economy. Which money we generate in in those industries. Is a cultural industry similar to creative industry? So this is such kind of a debate people don't talk about, even the people in charge. At the end of the day, you find the comprehension about those topics somehow very difficult, but at the end of the day, we hope day by day, the more we invest, the more we let people know, the more we have such kind of conversation, we learn from one another until we reach to the level where here there is a cultural center, there is a cultural center, with different visions but same ambition. Because when it's about same ambition, it's always about education, shaping time, educating people, not just taking people's time. Because when it's about taking people's time, it's entertainment. People came and go. But for the cultural center, people came and their soul stays, or they take something, like it's a giving back to people at the end of the day. So the gap, I feel like we still lack the understanding of its importance, which sometimes we neglect the courage, the passion of the people who invest in it. But I hope day by day the thing's gonna change, and we will see some new understanding and why we're gonna have more reasons to do what we are doing today. When people used to visit me in the studio, they ask me, where can I visit? And then you find even I myself, I don't have any place to recommend people, you know. At the end, you feel like, have you visited Genocide Memorial? Yes. Have you visited Kante Museum? Yes. Have you visited maybe Museum for Campaign Against Genocide? Yes. Yeah, and then sometimes they're gonna tell you, but we find like somehow it's very political, you know, we need something. And then to me, I feel like, yeah, so many people don't want to be involved in politics. But the story is not about politics, it's about the reality of the thing that happened. How can I create a space where people who don't want to be involved in politics can feel at home, but also learn? And then that's how I came up with an idea. Okay, maybe I can use my art to let people know about the story of genocide. The place we are sitting today is a story based on one outfit that was dressed in 100 days. So it comes from asking people questions, genocide survivors. And then if you don't want to visit somewhere because you don't want to know more about politics or something else, at least you can come to this place. And then again, you're going to learn what you lost in those places, but in any way different to what you were supposed to see in those museums. So a museum like this was a museum, in my mind, that will be helping people to easily understand, connecting them directly, and again to see the same age or the people who tell those stories that were not involved in those situations back then. Intentionally, I really wanted people to be connected directly to my creations and learn something. So I think when I was thinking about creating this museum, I really wanted people to know the story they don't want to hear, the story they don't want to learn. So that's why at the end of the day, I started with making installation, paintings, and then sometimes we distract them in one creation, but also we want them to learn another creation. So it's a way people, even if you don't want to learn, you're going to go back with something. To me, I believe artists are not different to people, but are people who have been gifted with something extraordinary. And being an artist gives you directly a responsibility to be in between, to know what the people need, to reflect their memories. You become, how can I say, like somebody who holds pain of others, joy of others, all those things that can affect people affect you first, and then you let them know, or you become their voice, or you become. So being an artist is the greatest responsibility in the world, because that you have given something, and then that something can help people one time to be better, or sometimes to learn, or sometimes to feel. If you see there, I just said that art is a powerful tool to educate, to heal, and to build, let's say. But also at the end of the day, art is a powerful tool to destroy, to mislead. But at the end, it's you who you choose. When you are gifted with something, you get responsibility. If you don't choose good, you're gonna be affected with something bad. So that's why art to me means a lot, and then the task of responsibility to let the world know what's going on. When we paint in a current situation, it's because we are painting something that has somehow existed. And then through our paintings, that's where you can feel, you can understand, you can be connected. Whether it's an abstract, whether it's something figurative where you can feel. But at the end of the day, I feel like painting, it's like a book open that takes courage and feeling and emotions to lead. So when you take time to lead those paintings, that's where you get into connection with it. So when you see our paintings, feel like it's libraries that is there. You can sit down and take your time. Imagine someone came and judge a piece in 1 second, instead of getting into deeper, feeling it, understand it, have a conversation to the creator within themselves. So it's a task everybody need to easily understand. So to me, I think like paintings as like books that need emotions, that feelings to lead. Let me start with Rwandans. Rwandans sometimes they ask me questions. Is it your museum? It's you who created this museum? Where have you learned this? And so someone with your age can create something like this. Sometimes they want to see me with their own eyes. Say, are you the guy who created a museum? I say, yeah, it's me. So where did you learn this? I feel no, but maybe you went outside abroad. But with foreigners, when they ask me questions, they create conversations mainly. I can say that it's all Rwandans, but at the end of the day, internationally, people who came from different countries, at the end of the day, they are amazed to see a Rwandan contribute to the memory through art. And then at the end of the day, they start creating, a conversation, ask me questions, ask me my visions, what do I want to create in the days to come, what is my next research or creation. So they ask me, they easily want to understand my process of creation. But for our fellow Rwandans, they still asking me, that boy that do paintings, but they don't easily go into deeper. And then sometimes they can come, not because they want to learn, but at the end, because they want just to pass by, maybe taking pictures. And you can see an international person came, took 2 hours in the museum alone, asking questions. But it's very late for Rwandans to spend even, some of Rwandans, not all of them, to spend even 20 minutes. But at the end, that's what we are fighting for. We fight people to have a conversation in community, because at the end of the day, I've never created for foreigners. I've created for my people. But for education, for institutions like students, they start to easily understand what they have learned at school. So at the end of the day, we are just building something not for the people outside, but for the people here in the country. Through my storytelling, I want them to be part, to put their shoes in those people who pass through that story. So through my storytelling or guidance, or even with my team, we try our best to let them know survivors pass through this, or victims pass through this. And then we try our best to let them know by fact what happened, but at the end, to let them know that some people like them. I believe in humanity. At the end of the day, I just let them know, a fellow human being, same as yours, has passed through the difficult situation as what I'm narrating to you. So by emotions, you get into connected to it, which directly help you to understand by feelings, not even more than education. Of course, you have to know where they come from, but at the end of the day, better they know what they found there. So to me, when you came to museum, Rwandans and foreigners pay the same amount. To me, I believe in same humanity. Even my creation by today, the painting movement that I'm creating is regarding equality. So to me, at the end of the day, sometimes the background can help you easily understand. For example, if you grow up in the same country like Rwanda, which has had the same problems like what we had, maybe for us it was so very harsh to have a genocide, but there's some fellow countries that had wars, and then which is easily to help them to easily understand our history. But there's some others like Westerners who have never had any bad consequence except on news. So at the end of the day, we let them know what happened regards with their background, but at the end, to me, it doesn't count much, because what we really have here is a story based to truth, and then reality of the things and the consequence that we live with day by day. So to me, the background of the people, sometimes yes, it helps, but at the end, I don't count much about those backgrounds of the people. Personally, I'm collecting stories based to the 1994 genocide and turning to art creations. And each year I present a creation. Each year I present an exhibition. Not even each year, sometimes I exhibit 2 or 3 per year that is about memories. I know today it's now very complicated, but because it's something new. But at the end, it's great to visit genocide memorials and then come to this place, because what you've learned there, you're gonna feel it when you came to this place. So I feel like there is interconnectivity that we maybe in the days to come will be helping us to remember, because let's suppose maybe in the future, when we, the post-genocide generation, will be in charge of telling stories and telling what happened to the story of our country to the people. What will be our message? Imagine telling a young boy born in 2010 or 12 that once upon a time there was roadblocks that used to stop people, what we call barrieri, and then those people used to ask them their identity, are you Tutsi or Hutu or Twa? In their identity cards, they were writing this. And then imagine to tell a young person, directly he or she gonna reflect to you or tell you, oh, they were criminals then. Because for them, they can take load from Nyagatare straight to, let's say, Rusizi, and then when the police stop them, they're gonna grade them as uncles. That's the new generation of Rwanda we have. So, but we need to remain having a story that's called barrieri, which kind of story we need to tell them, to let them even know how they can feel, to put themselves in the shoes of the people who survived or even who were victims in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. So my creation, the museums there, the genocide memorial there is telling by fact what happened. So I'm reflecting by emotions through art, so people can feel the same shoes what the survivors passed through in, or victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Actually, museum is not only about information, but it's about also to give a reason of thinking about those informations. You know, when you see what's going on in the museums, like let's say in the Holocaust Museum or around the world, what the Jews do, they invite the fellow Jews to create arts. That is, those arts reflect to the story of Holocaust, because their memory is actually based on an abstract memory. So when you observe the contribution of an artist to lead a museum, or personally I, King Ngabo, to create a museum as an artist, it means I'm giving people a reason to understand the real fact of the things that happened. I'm giving people real reason to create a conversation. I'm giving real reason to make people feel and understand the context. That memory, it's not about politics, it's not about the people, it's life that we live with in our daily life. So as an artist to lead a museum, I feel as a privilege, because actually museum I think has been created not only for information but also for preserving the artifacts of the artists. So artists are supposed are the mainly objects that need to be exhibited in the museum. So when your art is somewhere, it's mean you are there. So at the end, to be an artist, to lead a museum, to help to preserve memory, that's what we actually need in our country today. And day by day, we're gonna be having more than me and other people to contribute through their creations. And today you can see the museum is only my artworks. But it's not my wish. I wish people, my fellow artists, can have the same understanding what memory can help people, why they can work on that such kind of topic, what can we invest in it. Apart from money, we need more knowledge, deeper understanding. So the more we get more people who understand the context the same way I do, I think we're going to be having different artists in the museum, and I think day by day we will be having a reason to be, a reason to support the government, to let people know what is happening in the world. In the 1994 genocide, of course, we had more than 300,000 orphans, and those people, first and foremost, were part of the conversation, were part of the reason and history, which we are talking about, the 1994 genocide and its memory. And we, the new generation, who were born after genocide, we grow up, I can say, with traumas, because we were surrounded with survivors who are never yet healed. And it's more reasonable to understand that it's my task, not only for me, but for everyone with the same age with mine, to have a responsibility in their careers, to know that this is our country, its stories is ours. Even if it's very harsh, the 1994 genocide is part of our history, but not part of our culture. We're not defined by genocide. At the end, people must know it, but they must know that we have another page of life. We have another page of understanding. We have another page of vision. We have another page of resilience, dreams, passion. So to us, we feel like we are the best messenger, more than books and news about our history. So whenever we can take the responsibility to tell the world in our field, people are going to easily understand what happened and then respect it on one way or another. Of course, a part of giving information, we are giving art. So people are fetching information from our arts. So that's where the power of creativity stood up, because when you came up with an artwork and then people start to learn from that artwork, you are giving information, you are giving updates, you are connecting people to one story to another through your art. I think there is a lot of connection between art and creativity and how people can refer from those you produced. Today, we are on the last stage of the 1994 genocide, which is denial. And when you see how people disrespect the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, how did they publicly announce it? You're going to see even some some different countries support those denial, give them place to platforms to publish what they know that it's not true, but because it's a narrative they want to spread, you can easily see how people write on X or on social medias denying the story of 1994 genocide. Sometimes they create several narratives about that story. That's where my college in art and museums get a reason to create, because at the end of the day we have to think how many people visit museums in France, how many people who follow politicians who announce, who maybe respond on our behalf in our countries. The algorithm of social media, at the end, it ends in the people who knows something about that story, because you might be somebody, let's say a minister in this country, and then you have many followers. Either it's end up in the people who actually follow you on social media, or the people who knows you. But we also need to tell people who doesn't know this country, who doesn't know everybody in this country, so that our tragedy that we faced in the 1994 genocide, people cannot respect it, but they can fear it. If they don't fear, how people gonna fear it? How people gonna understand it? Even if you don't feel mercy or kindness to survivors, but you can fear to type something on social media and do something to harm them. You can easily see by now Texas and Utah in the United States are the only state in America that that only recognize the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. So it's my task as an artist. But also it's not me alone, because I cannot do it by myself. As you can see, the government of Rwanda do a partnership to let people know the story, the Visit Rwanda conversation. That's how the people in charge, like ministry in charge, can be in partnership with the museums outside. When we create from here, we let people know outside there. Because when you see the people who visit museums day by day in Europe, who visit museums in America or somewhere else, they are more than people who visit markets in Africa, because museums are tools of knowledge where they earn something. So what if this installation in Nzira y'Inzitane is in the MoMA, let's say in the US or somewhere in university where we create a conversation? What if this Kamwe can be exhibited in France where people pass by, they can know a story of the 1994 genocide? So we need to let people know that something happened here. Not only through political statement, not only by justice, not only through laws, but through cultural education. So when we stood up, when we stand up and contribute and then have real understanding on this, I think we're gonna solve this problem in one way or another. And I think the college as an artist who grow up here, who lived with the people, who saw people with trauma, who visited genocide memorials, it's sometimes very painful to see people deny your story, your history, your country's history, try to narrate it the way it's not. And it gives you more courage and ambition to say, I must stand up without fear and let people know. I know we still have a problem of spreading the stories because we don't have many partnerships. You see, with the artists, we are not enough to spread the stories. We need even more powerful institutions to be, because I myself, it's not easy to me to be connected with some museums in Europe. People in charge can be in that responsibility to support my work or support each and every artist here to let survivors publish their books in those big publishing houses in Europe, in America, so people can easily understand. You know, by now, survivors have a problem, a very big problem, because publishing houses are requesting them to make stories fictions. And then when they make them fiction, because they don't want people to get hurt, but the story is already hurt, how can we hide the story? So we need more partnerships with those big publishing houses. And then with those publishing houses, museums, that's where our story will be heard globally and then be respected. And then people must not respect the 1994 genocide or even feel guilty to deny it, but at the end they can fear to publish that they do. That's the mission. That's why we are creating. That's why we wake up early in the morning and do installation that we know that's not going to be for sale. That's why when you see my next exhibition, it cost me more than around 1.5 million, but I know that I'm nobody who's going to buy it. It's not a painting, it's an installation. Maybe it can be taken somewhere in one foundation, but it's not me. It's going to take time. But I know one day the message will be heard through museums all around the world by our creations. We have to think that a museum in Ngabo can be a center of creation, of the stories that we gather on our memories, but teach the globally environment through our creations. How? By spreading what we have created. So let's be a studio. I think a museum in Ngabo will be like a studio that I exhibit in the whole world. That's my mission.